get started. All right. Let me just get this off here. My computer on the side. All right, so welcome. My name is Kelly, and I'm the plant-based kitchenista. So tonight we're going to do a vegan Philly cheesesteak. We did make cheesecake at Rancho, and the plant-based coleslaw. So this is one of the things that you think about. You know, you've got the holiday coming up really quickly, just right around the corner in a few days. You know, so if you don't want to have the grill going or those kind of things, this is a great thing to make for a lot of people. And everybody can put, you know, the cheese sauce on it. They can make it spicy. They can add, you know, different ingredients. So you could have a really fun, almost like a, you know, like a buffet type of a thing with this. Or you could actually put all these vegetables, you know, and put those on the grill and make it taste just a little bit different. So kind of a timely and stuff for the holiday that's coming up. So before I actually get started, and one thing too, we're plant-based, no oil. So everything is, you know, if we saute, we're going to use vegetable broth or water, or vegetable broth or stock, water, or we'll do white wine. And white wine's usually, like I say, is always in Italian sauces. So rarely use it, but sometimes you do use it. So let me get Jerry to introduce himself really quick, and then we will get cooking, because that's the best part. Not saying that Jerry's, you know, introduction's not good. Cooking's great.
Hi, everybody. Welcome for those first timers here. I'm Jerry Casados, plant-based nutritionist. We've been plant-based now 16 years, hard to believe. But yeah, I did it for health reasons of my own, of heart disease developing, blood pressure meds, cholesterol meds, all that was happening. And I went to see Dr. McDougall, got me off all my meds, 35 pounds lighter now. And I went back to school, become a nutritionist, and have a private practice. Trying to transition people to a plant-based diet. So yeah, I do consultations, have programs and stuff. You go to my website, I'll put the contact information in the chat window for us, Kelly and I. So, but any nutrition questions up in the chat window, I'll be glad to ask. I'm just here to eat pretty much. Thanks.
Definitely the eat part. We always make fun of like a bowl like this. When I was doing Chef AJ's class, if you were watching that, and that was on Sunday after I got back from Rancho and stuff, we're like, this is always Jerry's bowl. And we made a huge bim bim bop bowl, and it filled the whole entire bowl. Beautiful colors, rainbow, you know, eat the rainbow, all those kind of things. And everybody's like, no way, can Jerry eat that whole thing? I swear he ate the entire bowl for bim bim bop and ate the sriracha green beans. So he's a big eater. Doesn't look like it, but he's a huge eater. All right, so vegan Philly I'll keep wanting to say cheesecake, cheesesteak. All right, so we're going to get something started with this because we want to get the tofu, and you can, you know, it's a broiler type of recipe, or it's a grill if you've got a grill that you want to be able to do. But you could also, if you don't want to do either one of those, and you're like, yeah, my broiler doesn't work that well in the stove and stuff, you could actually bake it. So up to you, however you want to do it. We're going to go ahead and use the broiler this time. But if I see it's not working, like the broiler's not getting it crispy enough and things, then we'll switch over to the baking. But right now the broiler's on high and ready to go. So to get the sauces ready, and there's a little bit different ingredients in this. So let me just grab a bowl. So we've got tofu. So we've got tofu that's been, just get this over here. It's been just, you know, just drying out in a towel. So paper towel. I always just do it the night before. If it's still a little bit, got a little bit of moisture or something like that, you can always just take a towel, you know, just like a cotton towel, and just pat it dry. So what you're going to want to do is do really thin slices, about a 1/4 inch. So if you're really good at a mandolin, you could use a mandolin. And I do have a mandolin here. So we're going to try it out. If I don't like the slice the way it looks, then knife skills. That's all you need to be able to do. So this is extra firm tofu. That's all I ever buy is extra firm. Or if I use like the silken, which we're going to use for another recipe, I'll do that. So just kind of run it through. And it's not the easiest to get it through, but it works. So that's actually a pretty good slice. So you can see that it's very thin. And what's going to happen is once we put all the sauce on it, then it's going to kind of crinkle up a little bit and then get really crispy. So that one's actually really good. I'm going to grab my baking sheet. That way I can put them on kind of one at a time. So let's just do some mandolin work here. And if you're doing mandolin, just be careful. This one was this is a cheap mandolin. Got it on, I think I ended up getting it for like $10 or something that was on Amazon. So you don't need to get the really fancy ones. There is some that they're, they're metal and they're a lot of work and they're a lot of work to set up. You just need something that's just basic. But when you're doing mandolin, watch what you're doing. I've seen cooking classes and cooking shows where individuals are doing the mandolin and they're just like not paying attention. And I'm just like, oh, there goes the knuckles or there goes the fingers. So just pay attention to what you're doing. Just do some slices. You also have the little stopper on it if just in case, like if it starts getting, just get those out of the way. If it starts getting really close to the edge, watch your fingers. You can also get those little gloves that protect your fingers. When we were in Mexico, they actually had the gloves because we were using fennel and we were cutting it up using with a mandolin. And so we made sure everybody in the class used the little gloves, which is also another way. And you'll notice that it gets off on your mandolin a little bit. So just turn it around and then just do some more slices. And if you're doing this recipe for just yourself and you don't want a lot of tofu, do like a half of a piece of a tofu. And then just save the rest or freeze it or whatever you'd like to do. Or bake it. Baked tofu is really good on salad, especially when you flavor it. You can see the slices curl up. So let's get some of the slices in here. Nice little slices. I'm going to do just enough for the baking sheet. The rest of it I'll do later. And it's okay if you only get like half a slice or it starts to fall apart. Because it's so thin, you know how tofu is. Tofu will crumble on you. So put a little piece there. It should be enough for, as most people would say, for Jerry. And if you don't want to do tofu, because I know some people are like, I don't like tofu, or I'm not, there's certain reasons why I don't want to do tofu, then one of the things that you could do on this to switch it out is you could actually use eggplant. And if you don't like eggplant, then I would say probably the next closest thing that you're going to be able to maybe substitute or give you a little bit of the chew would be zucchini. But zucchini is going to break down pretty fast because it's a very much of a water vegetable. All right, so just get all the pieces there. So we have enough. All right. The rest of that can go. I will do that later. So just almost 3/4 of a piece of tofu gave me probably about 20 slices. Kind of get a little bit of an idea. All right, so put this off to the side. So that's what it looks like. It's kind of like a little puzzle kind of a thing. Let's get the sauce going that's going to go on it. So first thing we're going to do is going to be using one of the vegetable bouillon cubes. This is no salt added. You can pretty much find them in the store. This is Rapunzel. So I end up getting this at a Kroger's, but you can find them pretty much everywhere. So just kind of, when you're doing things that like soy sauce and things, and it has a little bit of sodium in it, look for the vegetable bouillon that doesn't have any salt in it. That way you don't get things that are too salty. So I'm just going to drop that in there. Get that going. Then I've got 1/3 cup of hot water. So boiling the hot water already. That side. All right. And then so 1/3 cup of water. We got the vegan cube, the stock cube in here. We've got 2 tablespoons of low sodium soy sauce. Then we have, this is an interesting, a different ingredient, Marmite. So Marmite's out there and is actually like kind of making its comeback. It's basically a yeast ingredient and has all kinds of vitamins and minerals in it. It's very, very thick. Some people will actually put it on toast. I would not put it on toast. I tasted it and it's got a flavor almost kind of like reduced low sodium soy sauce plus a little bit of miso type of a thing, really thick, almost like a honey type of a thing. So we're going to do 2 teaspoons. Let me just grab, oh, there's teaspoons. I'm going to add just a little bit less because it does tend to have, and it is a vegan ingredient, it does tend to have a little bit of salty flavor. So I don't want things to get too salty, but you can see how thick it is. Very thick. So that's Marmite, not very expensive. Usually we'll find it in like we're all like the Asian ingredients. It depends on your store, the Asian ingredients or specialty ingredients. Usually I see it by like the matzo ball soup and all those kind of different areas. So I'll just put that there. So Marmite, you can get it on also Amazon, because Amazon has everything. And then we've got a tablespoon of nutritional yeast. So of course, that's going to give you a little bit of the cheese flavor. And then we've got 1 clove of garlic. Just get the rest of the garlic out. And then we've got that everything, mustard powder. So 1 teaspoon of mustard powder. Not all of it out. And then we've got vegan Worcestershire. And I know it's always one of those things that everybody always makes fun of. How do you say it? Some people, like even on cooking shows and stuff, you'll see all kinds of different pronunciations of it. And then a little bit of black pepper. You could taste it, and if you want to add salt, you could add salt, but I would say because of the ingredients and the Marmite and everything else and low sodium soy sauce, you're not going to want any salt. Could you use nutritional yeast if you can't find the Marmite? Yes, you could. So what you could do too is you could take your low sodium soy sauce, kind of like what you do with balsamic vinegar, and then just let it simmer on the stove for a little while and reduce it. So the Marmite, so like I said, it tastes like low sodium soy sauce plus a little bit of miso. So I would say just reduce down your low sodium, and then when it gets a little bit thicker, then add that in there and just replace the Marmite. That would be the easiest way to do it. Okay, bouillon's all broke up. That's good. So I'm just going to give it, so nice, dark, kind of a, it's kind of like a little bit of a coffee, what is it, a coffee latte type of a color. But make sure you get your bouillon cube. Make sure it's all broken down. Then I'll taste it here real quick and I'll give you what the flavor profile is. But definitely you could do, but good question, Mona, because I would say, yeah, you could add a little bit more nutritional yeast into it too. So it gives you a little bit more cheesy flavor. You're just looking for more where the flavors and stuff are going to flavor your, to kind of give it more of a, your tofu a more robust type of a flavor. Okay, I've got 1 chunk of the bouillon there. If you want it, I just splattered my forehead. If you wanted to, you could also put this in a blender or a food processor. Like if you have a small food processor, make sure everything's mixed up really well. Okay, there's the chunk. So good. I'm just going to get rid of it. And this is something too that you could make up the night before. So you could have your sauce ready to go. Okay, taste it. It's it's kind of like I said, it's all together and stuff is like a soy, like a sodium, like, so like, what am I supposed to say? Soy sauce. So low sodium soy sauce, or it could be like the Bragg's. It tastes a little bit like the Bragg's amino. It's kind of what all the flavors taste like. I would say closer to the Bragg's amino that you can get out of the jars. Keep seeing little chunks of the bouillon, but okay. So now let's get the tofu, and I put it over here. And all you're going to do is just pour it on. If you've got one of those nice, like pastry brushes, that works really well. You could pour some on. I'm not going to do all of it because I have a little bit of tofu left that I'll do a little bit later. But if you don't have one of those pastry brushes, and I couldn't find mine, then back of a spoon works. So just kind of make sure everything's covered. If you see some of the bouillon cube, just pull it off, just pull it out. You've got plenty. All right, now I'm going to put it under the broiler. Like I said, we're going to play with the broiler. This is the first time in our house, the newer house and stuff, that I have used the broiler. So I'm going to try it. And if I don't like it, then I'll turn it over to baking. So the bouillon cube didn't all get all. There we go. All right, so nice color, and your tofu is going to pick up that color. So let's get it in the oven. Turn it around so the paper doesn't. So Jerry, you're going to remind me with hand signals. Check the oven. So if we're doing it you're going to do it, that says for about 20 minutes. So we're going to check it here in about this is a gas stove. So it's a little bit different. So we're going to check it in about 5 to 7 minutes and just watch it, because that tofu is so thin. We want to make sure that we don't burn it. All right. So we've got that going. Then we're going to so we've got the veggies. So we'll go ahead and get the veggies going, and then we're going to make the cheese sauce. All right. So we've got a little bit of vegetable broth. You could use water, doesn't matter. I always have some in the fridge. Then I'm going to add the onions. So I just did white onions, but you could do any flavor of onions you have. You could actually mix them if you wanted to. And all I did is I just did nice, kind of a little bit chunky slices. And then when I had the half moons, I just cut the half moon in half, because then that way it kind of matches more of my red pepper and the green bell pepper. If you've got the recipe in front of you, you'll notice that it doesn't say red bell pepper, but because I had red bell pepper, I decided to go ahead and add it because it's pretty and it's colors. So, and I've got a few that need to be able to, I needed to do something with my red bell pepper. So this was the perfect opportunity to use it without making a salad tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to get the onions going. So you're not going to want to caramelize your onions. You're going to want to get them to where they're al dente, because if you're thinking about this, this is all going to go, this is what goes into a Philly cheesesteak. And you always have the onions and the peppers and things. And the cheese sauce that I'm going to make, I'm actually going to make, and I'm just because Jerry and I like spicy, I'm going to add some jalapenos, some jalapeno juice and some jalapenos at the end. And I'm going to grind those up. So then we're going to get a little bit of a spicy cheese sauce versus just the regular cheese sauce. But the regular cheese sauce is just a nice flavored cheese sauce. But if you want spicy, jalapenos is the way to go. And if you use the juice of the jalapenos, so if you've got a jar like this and use just the juice, you'll get a nice flavor, like the jalapenos will add to it, but not necessarily it will like burn your mouth, which is really nice. There's so many cheese sauces out there that, I mean, you can make it with potatoes and carrots and red bell peppers and cashews and all kinds of different things. This one's going to be with cashews. So simple, quick, fast, easy way to do it. The next thing after this is going, we're going to add the garlic. So the garlic we're going to do is 2 cloves of garlic that's minced. So we'll get that going here in just a minute or two. And the cheese sauce isn't going to take long at all because I've already soaked the cashews. So I already have the cashews. I just put water on them last night, put some plastic wrap on them, put them in the fridge. And so they're all ready to go. I drained them also. But that'll be a good, nice cheese sauce for that. And the cool thing about it is it's going to make quite a bit of cheese sauce. So if you're, like if let's say you get all the cheesesteaks are eaten tonight with the family and everything, and you're like, geez, I really like some of that cheese sauce for a baked potato or adding to vegetables or something like that. Or just, you just bought some jicama. When we were down in Mexico and stuff, they had big old slivers of jicama. And so we were dipping, they made a cheese sauce that was vegan. And so we were dipping all kinds of vegetables in the cheese sauce. That was Chef AJ's almost favorite meal of the entire time, was the cheese sauce and then a little bit of the guacamole. Okay, so as you can see, they're starting to get a little bit clear, which is what you want. But like I said, you don't want them where they're just like a mushy type of thing or caramelized. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the garlic. So we said that was 2 cloves of garlic. And the onion, the amount that I just showed you and put in there was one onion about this size. So consider it like a large onion. But whatever onion you have in the fridge, you could also, you know, on the peppers, if you don't want to cut up the red bell pepper, the green bell peppers and all that, you could also do the sweet mini bell peppers. And that's an easy way to get some flavors. Another minute or so. All right, and then, if we're following the recipe, we're going to add the mushrooms. So if it starts drying up in your pan, because you've got, you know, you've got the vegetable broth and it starts getting a little bit dry, you could add just a touch of vegetable broth in there or water, doesn't matter. But be careful about adding too much, because when you add your mushrooms, they excrete a lot of moisture, and that most of them do. Sometimes they don't. You'll find some that are a little drier. And so you don't want to get it too syrupy or too watery. So kind of play with it a little bit, but I'm going to add the mushrooms in. So this was 8. That was my my dish going, or my pan. Boy, it's moving quick. So I'm going to move the broiler. So I'm going to move the tray down just a little bit because it's the broiler. So obviously we've got a good broiler going here, and it's gas. The one I had in our other house would have taken an hour. Okay, there we go. Okay, mushrooms, this was 8 ounces and just sliced. But if you don't want to do the slicing, you can also do 8 ounces of already sliced mushrooms. These are the baby portobellos, but you can use any of your favorite flavor. Doesn't matter. So you can get really fancy with your mushrooms, or very, very simple, just like white button. Then we're going to go ahead and add the peppers. So green bell peppers and red bell peppers. And I just did them in nice little, kind of like matchsticks, just because it's, you know, it's just easier to, when you've got everything with the onions and everything else, you've got, show it like that. You got close to the same size. So add those in. It smells delicious in here. This you could do just the vegetables and just put it on a baked potato or rice, or, you know, make a bowl with it. So if you've got plenty left over and you're like the next day, it's like, I don't feel like bread, use this with some cheese sauce in a bowl. Or like even like over like rice or pasta. So I'm dumping things all over. So that goes, I just stirred it up a little bit. Now it's not going so fast, which is great. Is there anything else? So asking you guys that are attending, anything else that you would put on a Philly cheesesteak? I know you guys have all been to probably Chicago, New York, you know, Boston, all those areas and stuff. Anything else that you've seen that goes on a Philly cheesesteak that you'd love to see? This one's simple. Go ahead and just type it in the chat. I always like to see what you would add. Whoops. Guess everybody likes just the regular. Check your, still needs a couple minutes. All right, I'll let that go. Never had one. You will like this. If you like, you know, and if you don't like mushrooms, leave the mushrooms out. But if you like onions and peppers and mushrooms and all those kind of things like that, plus with the tofu, you would love this. It says, I was not actually a big fan of Philly cheesesteaks before, but my husband loved them. So we tried this recipe and loved. Perfect. There's also, like Chef AJ always talks about too, you could always put everything in an air fryer. So, you know, if you wanted to put your tofu in there, because I know she's a big user of the air fryer. I bought one of the original ones and we didn't find that it was very helpful when we haven't bought another one. We have enough gadgets. So we kind of I'm just like, I will do the tofu the regular way, but you could put your tofu in the air fryer and do it that way too. All right, I'm going to turn the tofu over while that's going. So nice, pretty color. I think I'll just grab a fork. It's a little hot. Just do a quick flip. That way it's going to be able to get crispy on both sides. And this is something too, your tofu, you could do the day before or a couple days before and just have it ready. And then add it to the ingredients once you actually do all your mushrooms and peppers, or you could do all of it ahead of time. Just flipping them all really quick. Let's taste one. That's good. It's not, because the like I said, some of the ingredients are a little bit salty. Once you put them on the tofu, it just gives a really nice, almost like a Bragg's type of flavor that's on the tofu. So not overly powering, not overpowering or anything like that. Just nice flavor that's going to add a really nice flavor to all the mushrooms and onions. Okay, a couple more to turn. They're so thin. Two more. One, two. And you can already see that it's starting to build up, like where it's a little bit, where the moisture's coming out of the tofu. So it's coming a little bit better. So let me just put this back in. Going pretty quick, which is great. Okay. Check my mushrooms and onions. See, there's almost, I probably have about an eighth of a cup of moisture that's in the bottom. So without even adding anything else into it, my mushrooms actually gave it a lot more moisture. Perfect. Little bit of bite, so al dente, a little bit of bite, but not soft and soggy. Okay, we'll let that sit for a few minutes. Cheese sauce. Move this out of the way. Unplug, get my blender. And plug in. Okay. All right, so cheese sauce. So we've got, so when you're making the cheese sauce, you're just putting everything basically in the blender and you're going to mix it up. You could keep running your blender if you want, especially if you have like a Vitamix, and it'll get your cheese sauce warm. But I'm just going to actually take it out, put it into a saucepan and then warm it up. So that way it gets a little bit thicker and it's also really nice and warm. So we have, if we have the half a cup of raw cashews, I added a little bit more. So it's actually a little bit more than a half a cup because I know how Jerry is. He'll eat more cheese sauce on it. So I figured make a little bit more. Then we've got 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. Ready to go. Then we've got 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. And always, and I know Mona asked a question a little bit earlier about that, but nutritional yeast, a lot of times when I do recipes, I end up doing more nutritional yeast than what they'll say in the recipes. And so some of my recipes and stuff, you'll find like when I do like ricottas and things, will have almost up to a cup of the nutritional yeast because it gives you that really good cheesy flavor. And also, if you ever have nutritional yeast around the house and you can get it, on Amazon, all of your like even like Kroger's and stuff is now taking like I'm carrying like the Bragg's nutritional yeast. It's really good on popcorn. So like air popcorn with a little bit of salt, nutritional yeast, and pepper, really good. So that goes in. All right. And then, so if you taste it and you're like, I'd like a little bit more cheesier, add some more nutritional yeast. That's the good way to do it. And then I got a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. If you don't have Italian seasoning, of course, you just do, quarter teaspoon of oregano, thyme, sage, and rosemary. So smells good. And then one time, let's just say you make this cheese sauce because you really like it, but you're like, I don't want those Italian flavors. Leave them out and then add something in. You could add the jalapeno juice or something like that. So you could change your flavor profile of what you want your cheese sauce to be, which is really nice. I actually said a half a teaspoon of salt, but that's completely up to you. I don't cook with salt. I leave it on the table. So if I want some salt on something, then I'll add salt, but Jerry doesn't like salt. So, but we also, before you add the salt, you're adding miso. So miso can tend to be a little bit salty. So one of the things is what I would do is leave the salt out, not grind, but blend everything up, taste it, and then see if you want to add the salt. So don't add it too much because then it might be too salty. So miso's going in. So we've got a teaspoon of the miso. Check. Oops. Got some of them crispy. All right. Jerry didn't remind me, but we're good for a couple pieces crispy, but that's ready. I'll show you that here in a minute. Miso. Any flavor, there's white miso, yellow miso. I mean, there's all kinds of different things. So whatever miso that you can find in the stores, because sometimes it is hard to find. And then we've got a little bit of black pepper. And then I'm going to add probably some jalapeno juice, but I'm going to wait a little bit. Make sure, what am I missing? Am I missing? Got the vegetable broth. I'm going to actually have a little bit of water on 1 cup of vegetable broth. That's what I say. I knew there was something that I was missing. So let me grab my third a cup and I'll just add as we go. Sometimes you won't, depends on your cashews. You may need all of it. I'll just do 2/3. And then sometimes you don't need all of the cup. So my blender with the tamper. So depending on how thick or thin, and you're thinking about that, you're going to be putting on the cheesesteak. So you're going to want to have it to where it's not real thick, but not really thin and runny either. So enough where it's pourable is probably really good. So let me just probably add just a little bit more moisture to it. That's really good. I'd still like it spicy, but just like this on like a baked potato or even like asparagus or something like that, really good. I'm gonna add just a little bit more because I want to have it where it can be pourable. Otherwise, there'll be like clumps of drizzle versus drizzle. Just a little bit more. Jalapenos. That was like 6. That's good. That's like a drizzle. Even better. That's good. Has a little tint of a bite at the back of your tongue and stuff, but really good. But either way, plain with without the jalapeno or anything like that, really good. So set that off to the side. But you can see, I'll actually just easy way to see it. I have a little dish. I can pour it in a dish to show you. See how nice that poured? That's what you're looking for. So nice, really light colored cheese sauce. That's really good. But like I said, I added jalapenos in it just because I wanted some spicy. All right, so get the blender off to the side. I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to leave this here because we need to be able to get, oh, the other thing is on the vegetables. So one of the things that you can do or not do in this, if you want your vegetables a little bit sweet, then you can add some date sugar. But I'm not going to add the date sugar because I really like my vegetables where they just taste just like the vegetables. But like I said, if you've got, friends and family, they're like, yeah, not too big on vegetables. And I've had a lot of people don't like vegetables. That you could then, I would say, put a little bit of sugar in it and stuff, and it makes them really sweet and it brings more of the sweet out, but I'm not going to do it. So we're going to put the date sugar back to the back. So hoagie rolls were very hard to find in the stores, and we'll make these here, but I want to get the coleslaw ready too. So we're actually just going to use like a French, so basically a French baguette. So I'm going to cut, so it'll be into threes. So I'll be using the ends, the two ends and stuff for tonight. And then the middle of them, unless Jerry ends up eating two, which could happen, then the middle one and stuff will be ready for tomorrow. So we'll get this ready here in just a second. But let's get the coleslaw ready. Like I said, that is really good cheese sauce. And I like really good cheese sauces that are fun that you can enjoy. So coleslaw, there's all kinds of different coleslaws that are out there. You can get some that are more like vinegar based, or you can get some that are more like the mayo based. So we're going to do one that's with this one, and I like both. So we're going to do this one though with a mayo base. And so we're going to make the vegan mayo. So I didn't add it to the recipe, but I'm just going to show you how to do a vegan mayo. So, and you can always just buy the vegan mayo too, but just always check to make sure, all the oils and stuff that they have in them. But this is just silken tofu. I get it from the Mori New. And so you can get it at like all of your Whole Food stores that usually Kroger's used to carry it, but they don't anymore, or you can order it on Amazon. So I always get the extra firm, and when I go to the store, I'll buy them. They're like $1. And I think they're $2.99 now, but I usually will buy like 10 or 15 of these. And then these are nice because they're shelf safe. So you don't have to keep them in the fridge, which is great. So you just keep them in your pantry. All right. So we're going to add in the silken tofu that's been drained. And this container was 12.3 ounces. That's 4. And then what you usually do in a vegan mayo, and I just realized I didn't get it, but let me grab my Dijon mustard. I knew I was missing something. So you usually would do a lemon juice or an apple cider vinegar. So whatever one that you have, because you want that the mayo to have like that tartness and that freshness. And then you're going to do a tablespoon of your Dijon mustard. I have done many different ways with mayo. Sometimes I'll put like sriracha, so I'll make a vegan mayo. I will put in yellow mustard and Dijon mustard, or I'll put in a stone ground mustard. So depending on what kind of flavors you're looking for, or what you're going to put it on, you could mix up your mayo and stuff to have all kinds of different flavors. So we've gone from spicy, and we've actually even used one where we put in harissa, which is like a roasted red pepper type of a flavor. We put that in there for some sandwiches that we did. And then the next day I made some mock tuna salad, and I ended up using the harissa mayo, and it added just a completely different flavor. And it was really good. Jerry was kind of like, I don't know about that, but he's like, wow, that's actually really good. So we've got that in there. So I've got the apple cider vinegar. So I'm just going to add that in there. But like I said, lemon juice, apple cider, doesn't matter, whichever one you want to do. So that's usually, and then some people will put in like the Himalayan pink salt, or there's a black salt, that type of thing. But I always just do it very plain like this. You could also add fresh herbs, which is a really fun way to do it. So that's all that you do for the vegan mayo. Simple. And then what I always do too is then I put it in a jar. So I always put it in jars that look like this and this. So I ordered these on Amazon. So they're just the plastic lids and they have a little bit of a, like, I don't want to term like a sealant that's in here. So I always put them in the mason jars. I don't use the metal lids anymore because they tend to oxidize around the edges and they'll make everything taste like aluminum. So I just put these on, and I've kept mayo in these type of jars for probably 3 or 4 weeks in this. So this is a great way to keep your mayo, especially if you don't use it all. And we won't be using it all for this. So depending on your actual blender container, sometimes like this is a wider base when I bought it, and because I bought a replacement because my other one kind of got dented a little bit. So you'll notice that sometimes like if and I'll say this, if you're making a smoothie, the wide base and those kind of things is really good. But if you're making small, like a little bit of dressing and things, then you want to go with more of the tall base like this, so that the base is like, so you see how big the difference is. The smaller bases and stuff actually blend up a lot faster. So I'm just putting down a little bit of the tofu, and then I'm going to give it another little blend. All right. So vegan mayo, all ready to go. All right, so that's all. Wash my hands. Let's get the blender out of the way because we'll be making the sandwich here in just a second. All right, so for the coleslaw, big bowl. Also, when you're the coleslaw and stuff is actually, I can't even talk. Asking for a little bit. So I've got 2/3 of a cup. So I have the 1/3 cup that's here. So I'm going to measure that out. And then then you're going to put it into a bowl because you're going to want to mix in a little bit of maple syrup, so a little bit of sweetness for it. And what you're not going to want to do is put all the maple syrup in your mayo, because then you're going to have really sweet mayo. So you want to keep your mayo for like avocado, lettuce, and tomato sandwiches. I mean, there's so many things. You could do a mock tuna salad. I could probably here in this house make mock tuna salad every week, and it would get eaten. And then you just add different flavors to it, different mayos, make it a little spicy one day, or one week and not the other. We'll eat it on like plant-based crackers if you want something that's crunchy, some of the Wassa crackers. Jerry eats it on sandwiches. He'll eat usually 2 sandwiches for lunch. There's all kinds of different ways to do that. Okay, there's 2/3. I'll leave that in there because I'll add that to the jar a little later. All right. Then I'm going to add the maple syrup. So we've got 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. So a little bit of sweetness. If you don't want sweetness, add a little bit more Dijon mustard and then have it more where it's more savory. So your coleslaws are all based on your flavor, almost like potato salad. Some people like really sweet potato salads, some like a more mustardy, all that. So kind of experiment a little bit with your flavor profile and what you like. Okay, that's it. If you don't want to use maple syrup, you can use agave. If you don't want to use agave, you could use date paste. If you don't want to do any of those, you could use a little bit of monk fruit sweetener. So lots of choices on your favorite type of a sweetener that you're looking for. All right, so we're going to assemble. So we've got just regular green cabbage, just chopped up, or like kind of like shredded a little bit. Jerry's favorite. Whenever I chop this up, I have to keep him out of the kitchen because he comes in and eats handfuls of it. And I have a little bit more cabbage than the recipe calls for. Carrots. And then what else would you put in a coleslaw? I've seen red bell pepper. I've seen all kinds of different things. So type it in the chat, like to hear what you like to do or what you like to put into a coleslaw. And then the other thing that we're going to add is a teaspoon of the celery. So basically celery seed powder. So these are celery seeds. So I'm just going to add them in. Just kind of play with it a little bit. And then add the dressing. Super simple. Make it up the day before. You could make up the dressing, keep it in the jar. You could just have your vegan mayo on and then on hand and then mix it up and ready to go. So I'm actually just easier. I do this for salads too. I just massage in the dressing. If I can get the fingers in the right holes, there we go. And then that way you get in there and you get everything mixed in really well. You could also add the sea salt and black pepper, but I would mix everything up first and then taste it. So I'm making it where it's so the amount of mayo and stuff to the actual cabbage and stuff is not a lot. So I'm making it where you can actually taste the cabbage, but then have a nice flavoring and stuff with the mayo. So it's not real saucy. If you want it real saucy, add a little bit more. And you're breaking down when you're getting kind of in there, mixing things up, you're breaking down your cabbage a little bit too. Get my time. Okay, we got to get the sandwich made. It's really good. Nice, not a overpowering flavor profile or anything like that, but really nice. Okay, we'll put that to the side. Bread. Bread, no oil. Yep, whole wheat, no oil. I'm gonna grab that out. All right, so you're just gonna kind of measure it a little bit. So we're gonna do one that size. On that size, I'll put this one in for tomorrow because like I said, well, it may not go in easy, but Jerry will probably hit the refrigerator about 10:30, 11 and make another one for tomorrow. All right. We're going to half it, but not all the way through. I'm going to get it broiling. Cheese sauce, I just remembered. Let's get it heated. Oops. Probably easier on a tray, but all right. So then we got the tofu. Like I said, I got a few little crisp edges. Let me plug this in really quick because I'm going to mix all this together. So just grab a little bit of the crunchy off the side. I'm going to add the tofu in. You don't have to do this, but it just gets everything all nicely put together. So see, anybody can burn edges of anything, but it just crinkle it off like that, and you're ready to go. And you'll notice that it's really, so it's like, it's really almost stiff, which is really good. That's what you're looking for. So overall together, nice. Nice flavor. And you see how fast it can, because you've got sugars, a little bit of sugars in this, in the tofu. That's why it cooks so fast. All right, make sure our cheese sauce is going. All right, quick stir, and then we are going to plate. And this will put, like when you're doing this, a little bit of the moisture from the vegetables will actually put just a little bit of moisture back in with your tofu. All right, so that's all mixed together. So looking very pretty right now. Okay, another minute or so. We got the cheese sauce. We've got coleslaw. Let me plate that. Jerry, could you hand me the microgreens, please, out of the fridge? Add some color. What's really pretty on coleslaw also, set that right there. You could also add black sesame seeds, black poppy seeds, a little bit more of the celery. Just adds prettiness and color. A little bit of microgreens. So there's the coleslaw ready to go. One of Jerry's favorites. Get this out of the way. And the bread. All right, perfect. Let's get plating. We'll use this one. That one needs a little bit more, but we'll do that in a minute. All right, so way you could do this, you could use some of your mayo if you want, but that's going to be very non-traditional. So you're going to be, so one of the things that the first thing you're going to do is you're going to either can put your cheese sauce on the bottom because you want the cheese sauce on the bottom and the top, which I'm going to do. Can't have enough cheese sauce. That. All right, now you've got your tofu, you've got your vegetables all ready to go. You could also add non-traditional, but you know how we all are, we like our greens. That would be another way that you could add some really good flavors. Oops, so I mess up my plate. I'm going to add some more cheese sauce. Any celery seeds. I've got microgreens. Pretty. You could also add some roasted red pepper flakes. You could add a jalapeno. Jerry likes his jalapenos. All right. So there is your cheesy, yummy, and it's got tofu and vegetable Philly cheesesteak. And it's got toasted bread. The cheese sauce is wonderful. I made it a little bit spicy. And there is your plant-based coleslaw. So guess what's for dinner tonight? Yum. Doesn't those look good? All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. I will be posting the next classes. I think the next one's on the 7th. So we'll be posting that for you. So I hope I guys see you guys. And if you have any questions and stuff, always feel free to email me at Kelley, Kelley at plantbasedkitchen.com. Have a great night and hope you stay cool wherever you're at, and love you guys. Bye.